Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff MacLeod, your host here at the Gaming Gang channel. Thanks for joining me once again. Science Fiction Month continues, as today I will be sharing my review of both Book 1 and 2 of Doctor Who the Roleplaying Game, 2nd edition, 60 Years of Adventure from Cubicle 7 Games. These volumes are available now. Each book does clock in at 128 pages, is available in hardcover, and carries an MSRP of $39.99. Now, if you order from Cubicle 7 Games, you will receive the PDF absolutely free. Now, if you're interested in just the PDFs alone, you can grab those over at DriveThruRPG for $19.99 each. Of course, I will share links to both Cubicle 7 Games and DriveThruRPG in the show notes. Also should mention, I am going to be giving away both books in PDF to a couple of lucky viewers. So stay tuned. I will tell you how you can get into the running, and I promise I'll make it easy. All right, all that said, let's swing on over to the other camera so we can take a look at Book 1 of Doctor Who 60 Years of Adventure. And that's how I'm going to refer to this, because otherwise it is a huge mouthful to try to get out. I may even just refer to them as 60 Years of Adventure 1 and 2. But before we jump on in, a few things I do want to mention. First of all, my friends over at Cubicle 7 Games were kind enough to provide me with these review copies. But neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the Gaming Gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share these reviews with you. These days, it's very important that you know that. We're also not going to look at each and every page of both books, but I do want to give you a good feel for what you're going to find inside Doctor Who 60 Years of Adventure. Lastly, each of the Doctors does have a short adventure. And normally, if I'm sharing a first look or a review of anything that includes adventures, I will say, hey, if you're a player, tune out. I don't think that's really the case here, because they are very short. I'm going to stay spoiler-free for the most part, and I highly doubt I'm going to ruin any of the surprises in these adventures as I'm randomly flipping through both these books. So as a player, I think you should be fine. Now, if your game master is considering picking up both books of 60 Years of Adventure, by all means, let them know about this video so they can approach them and make a far more informed buying decision. Because I know there are folks out there who have some questions about what they're going to find inside these two books, and I am hopefully going to be able to answer those for you. All right, first thing we're going to take a look at here, the credits page, because there are a lot of writers who worked on each of these volumes. In fact, there are a lot of people who worked very hard to bring these two books to fruition. So let's give credit where credit is due. I normally will share the writers while I'm kind of prefacing the video, but because there are so many, I didn't want to spend like 5 minutes mispronouncing a bunch of people's names. So there you have it. All right. This first book is going to tackle the classic era of Doctor Who. So we are going to take a peek at the first 8 Doctors, and each of the Doctors' entries follow a very similar format. So we're going to get an introduction. We're going to get a discussion of that Doctor's era. So what was going on in the real world when those episodes were filmed. We're also going to get various themes for each of the Doctors, because if you're not overly familiar with the history of Doctor Who, all of the Doctors each have a unique personality. And not only do they have unique personalities, but a lot of times they have a very different approach to how they solve problems. A great example would be comparing the 4th Doctor, Tom Baker, who I have to say is my Doctor, with John Pertwee, who played the 3rd Doctor. So the 3rd Doctor was involved in loads of fisticuffs, a lot of action, didn't mind throwing himself into the midst of a melee. Fourth Doctor, no. He might offer you a jelly baby, but he wasn't going to be popping people in the face. So we were taking a look at the first Doctor. We get the second Doctor. And we get a breakdown of some of the companions. So we will get stat blocks for some of the more important companions for each of the Doctors. I am going to point out, you are not going to find every single companion in these volumes. We're tackling 8 Doctors just in this first book. So that means we don't have a ton of page space devoted to each. And obviously enough, I wish there was far more. I wish this volume was 400 pages. And I am going to discuss that a little bit later on in this review, because I know one of the big questions people have is, are these volumes just cherry-picked information from the previous Doctor supplements that have come out? The answer to that is no. They do draw some information from those previous volumes, but this content is, for the most part, brand new. All the stat blocks have been adjusted for second edition Doctor Who, the role-playing game, which is a little more streamlined than the first edition. Although the reality is there aren't tons and tons of changes. And of course, obviously enough, you can get a conversion PDF online to tell you, well, what are the changes from Doctor Who, the role-playing game, first edition, or Doctor Who Adventures in Space and Time, and the second edition. And they're not huge. They are really not huge. So each of the Doctors gets an adventure. And we'll take a peek at the fourth Doctors. I love how they've included a couple of NPCs who are from a classic episode of Doctor Who, and also had their own Big Finish series. And yes, it is Henry Gordon Jago and Professor George Lightfoot, who were featured in the Talons of Weng Chiang. I think that's how it was pronounced. I love it. I love that the adventure that's included, and it's in 3 acts. That's how the adventures are broken down into 3 acts. They're only 5-6 pages in length, so they're not super detailed, but still, I love how a lot of things from that Doctor's era are incorporated or kind of captured in that one sample adventure. Like I said, I love the fact that Jago and Lightfoot are in the fourth Doctor's adventure. Of course, then we'll get into Peter Davidson as the fifth Doctor, and the themes start to change because now we've got Doctor Who in the 80s. So even the series itself, the look of it changed quite a bit. So each of the Doctors gets their own little breakdown. And as you can see, if you're not familiar with Doctor Who, the role-playing game, second edition, stat blocks are very short and to the point. So right here, that's all the information you need to know about Peter Davidson's Doctor. And you'll see the same with the various different companions. One thing we will not see is a ton of stat blocks for villains, unless it is the adventure. So we will normally see some stat blocks for NPCs, both allies and enemies, in the stat blocks for the adventures. But as far as getting stat blocks for Cybermen and Daleks and so forth, you are not going to see that because, obviously enough, those stat blocks are in the core rule book and other releases in the RPG line. So that is a look at the first book. I'll give you a quick page through of the second book. Once again, let's give these folks credit because our writers are different. They're not all completely different, but we do have some different writers for this volume. And then we get into the revival era, where I'm sure many people watching were introduced for the first time to Doctor Who, because Doctor Who had been off the air for, 20 years? 18 years? Something like that? Yes, the Daleks. I have to laugh because the gentleman who does the voice of the Daleks, isn't it Nicholas Briggs? Am I right on that? I don't know. I'm just pulling that name out of a hat. Was at Gen Con once. I'm sure he was at Gen Con a few times. It was just the only time I had run across him. And Elliot went and had him do a bumper for the podcast we had back in the day when we first started out. And it was a riot because it was exterminate the gaming gang. It was great. Funny thing is, I can't remember what episode that's on because we didn't reuse the bumpers that often. Anyway, just giving you a peek through here. As far as page count for the Doctors, David Tennant gets the most. Coming in second, I want to say, is Tom Baker. But because we're seeing fewer Doctors in this second book, we have more page space devoted to them, which is cool. I'm fine with that. Now, I know a lot of people out there are taking a peek saying, hey, this looks nothing like those other Doctor source books that had come out. Well, the recent ones, yes. So as an example, I'll show you the 12th Doctor source book, and you will see very, very similar. But then I'm also going to share the 4th Doctor real quick so you can see how the Doctor source books from the past, when the Doctor Who role-playing game first launched as Doctor Who Adventures in Space and Time, how that breaks down. And I love those books. There are loads of people out there who have picked up those books who do not play any Doctor Who role-playing games just simply because there's such great detail to them. I guarantee there are people out there who are going to be interested in 60 Years of Adventure who don't play the role-playing game either. So we do get some info about some of the Doctors that have just made quick appearances. So the War Doctor, the Fugitive Doctor. And then we will get into some appendices and our index and a look at Doctors and Daleks as far as an advertisement, which is Doctor Who, the role-playing game, 2nd edition, ported over to 5e mechanics, which I have reviewed recently as well. So there is book 2. So if you're curious how that compares to the current lineup, let's dive on in real quick. I'm not going to spend a ton of time sharing a look inside this, but as you can see, there's far more detail involved in the current Doctor source books, where we get a breakdown of each episode. So we get a plot synopsis. We get a breakdown if you are going to run that episode as an adventure. We get further adventures based on that too. Absolutely love these source books. These source books are awesome. And I know there were a lot of people who were wondering, oh, so are the 2 books for 60 Years of Adventure just simply going to pick some of these entries and include them? No, not at all. We do get kind of a synopsis of the stories, but we don't get individual breakdowns. So there you go. Here's the 12th Doctor source book. New gadgets. We pretty much get every character, every speaking character, I guess we would say, in the various different episodes, do get stat blocks as far as NPCs, loaded, just jam-packed with photography too. Absolutely love these. Now, let me show you a quick peek at the Fourth Doctor sourcebook, which is no longer available. These are no longer for sale. And you will see similar, but a little bit different. I love the fact that the first two books, the first and second Doctor source books, are in black and white because the series were in black and white. So we start getting into the various different adventures. Now, this is statted for Doctor Who Adventures in Time and Space. As I mentioned before, not a huge difference. Not a huge difference at all. Now I'm going to take a moment to tell you how you can get into the running to win both books 1 and 2 of Doctor Who, the Role-Playing Game, second edition, 60 Years of Adventure. I'm going to be giving away both books in PDF to 2 lucky viewers. And I'm going to make the contest super easy. All you got to do, be a subscriber to the Gaming Gang channel. Hopefully you give this video a thumbs up. I can't see if you do or not, but hopefully you like the video enough to get into the contest. Give it a thumbs up. And then the third thing, the most important thing, is in the comment section, leave me a comment who your favorite Doctor is and why. Pretty simple. And then I will randomly select 2 of those entries, and on my live stream of the Gaming Gang Dispatch for June 6th, I will announce the 2 winners. And I will point out, you don't have to be watching live to be able to win, but you will have to tune in to the episode at some point to find out if you did win. So as I promised, pretty easy peasy. But yes, just rocking on through these source books. And there is a method to my madness here about showing you these in the middle of a review for the 2 60 Years of Adventure books, because I know a lot of people were hoping that the 2 volumes of 60 Years of Adventure were going to include a bunch of this content, which, as I pointed out, they don't, which is fine. I have no issue with that. But here's what I want to make sure that you're aware of. And that is that those source books, those Doctor source books, tend to pop up on Humble Bundle at least once a year. At least once a year, we will see a Doctor Who role-playing game bundle over on Humble Bundle, and they will normally include all but maybe the most recent of the Doctor Who Doctor source books. And you can get all of them, plus a lot of other stuff. You usually get the core rule book, the bestiary, all different stuff. So you usually get hundreds of dollars worth of PDFs for $18 to $25. And a bonus is a portion of that purchase will benefit a charity that Cubicle 7 Games chooses. So what I recommend, if you are interested in those Doctor source books, which now they're at 13, I do believe. Although I don't think the 13th is out in print yet. I think it is out in PDF. Keep your eyes peeled every 3 weeks, let's say, if you are really looking to get your hands on the Doctor Who sourcebook PDFs at a really attractive price. Take a peek every few weeks over at Humble Bundle, and I promise within the next year at the most, you're going to see a fantastic deal to pick those up. So there is that. All right, so let's talk about the review. As far as the 2 volumes of Doctor Who, the role-playing game, second edition, 60 Years of Adventure, I am going to provide one review score because I think taken as a whole, it's both volumes. You really want to have both volumes. I like these. I like these quite a bit. I do not like them as much as I do the Dr. Source books. But then again, they're not supposed to be replacing the Dr. Source books. They're supposed to be introducing people to various eras of the Doctor that they probably have not seen any episodes of whatsoever. So there are a lot of people out there who their favorite Doctor is Matt Smith, and they've never seen a Colin Baker episode of Doctor Who. So this is a great way to introduce players to different eras of Doctor Who. And it's a nice celebration of 60 years of the longest running science fiction television show anywhere. So on a scale of 0 to 10, I give both books 1 and 2 an 8 out of 10. I really do like them, really do recommend them. Once again, it's different content than what we've seen in the Dr. Source books. Of course, all of it is statted for the very recent second edition of Doctor Who, the Role-Playing Game 2. So it's important to keep that in mind. All right, that is it for this time out. If you like the video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that bell, because it'll not only let you know when I share videos such as this review, it'll also inform you when my live stream, the Gaming Gang Dispatch, airs Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central. And of course, don't forget, get in the running to win. But of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit gaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are not going to find here on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Thank you very much for watching. Once again, I'm Jeff MacLeod. And until I see you next time, I certainly hope all of you get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.